April the 29th, 2026. Guys, welcome to episode 8 of the Ancient Intelligence Files. They've been quite deep in data, I realize that, but also deep in just real good information. And what you're doing is looking at the altimetry data of Valles Marineris. This is the Mars. And it's showing, I think, they claim is the largest scar in the solar system. I wouldn't doubt it. The thing is huge. And the scientists disagree on when this happened. In other words, the atmosphere was stripped away. There were massive electrical storms. Could have been massive solar storms, gamma ray bursts, whatever happened. And they say it probably happened several million years ago. I'm not sure about that date, and I'll tell you why. Because new satellite data coming from the orbiters of Mars are picking up what they're calling like whiffs of atmosphere emanating from the surface. In other words, somehow, as the atmosphere was stripped, something compressed a lot of oxygen straight to the surface. And it's still emitting it, and I don't know if they've added the satellite data in with their timing or not. I don't think they have. But I think it's a little newer than that. But regardless, somehow the atmosphere was taken away from Mars. And now there's not enough oxygen to survive. More than likely, there's water inside the crust. If you've got atmospheric air there, possibly, you got H2O. But what's amazing about that, again, the oxygen being pressed into the soil. Now, I want you to think for a moment, and I'm going to go back to 2018 for just a minute in this next section to a video I did then. And we're going to look at that video, and we're going to look at what CERN's doing now. Now, if you notice the timestamp at the top, 11/15/2018, I'm showing the earthquake map, and we had a north and south polar earthquake at the same time. And I'm going to use timestamps to illustrate what I'm talking about. Many of you guys saw this on November 15th, 2018. And what you're going to see, guys, is the fact of what I was trying to tell the scientists then is that CERN is collapsing the Earth's shields. Then they took down the magnetopause that we were using before this 14 tera electron volt. Red line on the right indicates the normal standoff point, or where this curved white line would normally be under normal solar winds. Sun's to the right. You see the center right here is half white. That's the daylight side, right? These are the satellites going around it. This is kind of normal. You're going to see it go as solar wind increases. It'll push in and push out. But what we're doing here is starting to see CERN crank up. I've got it matched UTC time, both at the north and south poles. They're reaching into the magnetopause via the ground currents that I've explained through the coil system from CERN into our magnetic shields, again through the Hall and Peterman currents, the ground currents. And so when they powered up, their magnetic field is 100,000 times more powerful than the very delicate balance of our Earth. And so when they bump that energy, it's transferred through that coil system into it. Look at some of this, very unnatural. Again, look at the timestamp. Same model, just a different aspect. And you're going to see some crazy things happening here. This is again, sun's coming from the right. Here's the circle. These are the plasma bands and lines of magnetic force going behind it. Look at this knot as CERN was cranking up. Look at that. Now, again, they've taken this this magnetopause model down. They've replaced it with a new one that's highly polished. It didn't show the jagged edges ever at all. And they did it before the 14 tera electron volt run that they're doing now. But this, again, look at the timestamp, a couple of days, 11/15/16/2018, 6 years ago. And they said it was impossible that CERN had anything to do with it. Look at these knots. Anyway, it did, and they had to take it down because if we saw what it was doing, going from 13 TeV to 14 tera electron volts, we would be shocked. Again, Same date. Look at the time up here, November 16th. These are the spikes at CERN. Blue and red are the power lines. I did this in several videos, guys. I would match the timing of the CERN peaks in power with the collapse of our shields. I'm just reminding you, we have a lot of new people here. And you're looking at the power beams. We've been watching CERN quite a bit lately. But anyway, my point of showing you this is the fact that I'm time stamping and matching the UT timestamps between the collapse of the shields and the powering of CERN. And I've showed you a diagram of how this works, and I'm going to briefly touch on that just a moment and kind of give you an idea of how this conductance coil works. Now, I've seen some of you guys out there that are electrical engineers and master electricians, and you understand it. But this is how we're talking about a high latitude ionospheric currents. You got these field-aligned currents coming down. They're the Petermann currents. They are part of our magnetospheres. The sun's hitting the earth. It creates all of this energy. Then it acts as a coil because these lines are going one way. The ones under it, called the Hall currents, are going the other way. It's an induction system. And it travels right over, if you could see the backside of this, this is northern hemisphere. The Hall currents are traveling right over CERN. So when CERN cranks up with a coil that's grounded, 17 miles in a loop underground, then it goes straight into the yellow lines, the Halls, because they're running right over CERN. It was built there over the Apollo or Apollyon temple. And Apollyon is the destroyer, 666. Anyway, as CERN powered up, it reached into these coils, hit the Petermann currents or Pedersen currents, and moved into the magnetopoles and pulling it down. Guys, and I think we're dealing with fallen angel technology at CERN. Many people will agree with me, and that's really one of the first tags it got when it started. And so, guys, have you read in some of the books, Sitchin and others, about that man, or that there was a group of fallen angels, maybe in Enoch and other books, but there was a base on Mars. And they had fallen angel technology there too. And where I'm going with this, guys, on June 29th, CERN does not completely shut down, but it stays in idle. Why? Because now the new technology, the semiconductors that they found at Skinwalker, was sent to CERN. I've told you about it a couple of times. Technology was developed. Now the crowds stay cool, even at high power. Now, guys, let's go live to CERN. It is 4:18 p.m. here. It is 23:18:51 on the Franco-Swiss border UTC time. You can see the beams 1 and 2. They're powering up. Power staying down. And it's been averaging this 500 mark. Used to, this thing would be a little bit different. The beam would be up as the power was up. And that was because a lot of the energy was being pulled from the grid. But I think we're seeing some kind of resonance between these induction systems between the sun and the earth now. And with the new technology to keep it all cool while it's in idle, we're seeing a little solar power involved in what we're seeing here. Now, they're working on a 14 tera electron volt. We're not seeing it here yet. That would be getting this up to 7,000 giga-electron volts right here. Both beams, 1 and 2, adding them together, it's 14,000 giga-electron volts, which is 14 tera electron volts. 14 is a key number. Now, we're seeing a lot of strange things happen at CERN that are a little bit different. Anyway, 14 is a key number. I showed you the images of Mars and gave you an idea of what possibly could have happened if some of the older books and some of the newer information, I mean, Sitchin isn't that old, but if you look at that, even the parts about the fallen angels and the landing zone in Baalbek, guys, there's a connection there. Did they advance their technology so far that they created a super event? In other words, they had machinery, they had craft, they had the ability to go from Mars to Earth. They weren't flying in a ghost system, okay? Technology was there, both planets. Were they trying to do something with a collider that would cause the destruction of that planet? and made them the man of renown in the book of Luke move here. And now they have finally rebuilt the machine they were trying to build there. I'll tell you why, and I'll try to tie it in. I know it kind of sounds crazy, but please hear me out. Again, when they're about to go June 29th to a 4-year idle. That way they can replace a lot of parts of the machine. And they're saying they can do, when they come back after 4 years, the power will be 10 times the power it is now. They got a 10x on it. Look it up on CERN. That's what they're hoping to achieve. But the 14 tera-electron volts does not have to change. This is a different frequency power. And so if you get that up 10x, guys, can you imagine what the magnetopause would look like? You were looking at it at 13 tera-electron volts. They've killed my ability to see the real monitors of 14 TeV at this current power level. But it can stay at 14 TeV and still do 10x in power. Guys, it would collapse the shields to the surface of the planet. You see it bended at the poles at just that power. Now that's at 13 TeV, and we don't know what's happening at 14, and they want to do that at a 10 times multiple. That, I think, is what happened on Mars. Same group, the same fallen angel technology. And the 14 is a critical number. It is a resonance of 7 hertz, which is it's a doubling harmonic, and 14 is the top level of the alpha. Once you go from 14 to 15, you're into the beta. Now, alpha is the very important signal, and I think that we need, I call the God frequency. The Earth resonates at that if it's not in the hands of the noisemakers of the fallen tech. You got high frequencies. Man, look at the frequency. You can hear your ears ringing as you listen to this. So remember the number 14. That's their limit, and they don't have to change that to get the other power levels up. And I saw that a couple of days ago. They were right under 14 TeV, but they broke record voltages on what they call the RF timing page. And it wasn't that much, but the frequency changed by about 20 points. Anyway, and it went above the record of it. So they are, and as you just saw, the beams just came up to 16.7 each. That would probably be 6799, not quite at 7. So they're not at 14 TeV. They're at 13.6 if you combine the beams. What else is happening? The power line is not matching it. For years I've watched it. When you get this kind of power, I'm glad we're watching it live. Perfect timing on the video. Again, it's 4:24 p.m. Central. This black line will rise with it because the beams are using the power from the grid, this black line. All the spinning and all is plugged in, you know. Right now it's indicating, possibly because of the new semiconductors, that it is using solar power or ground induction, which I'm not talking about the sunlight power like my solar panels, but the inductive chain that I showed you in the diagram coming through the shields into the ground currents into the CERN core. And what this is telling me is that it's not totally reliant on the grid right now. That's a key factor. And it also means that the new AI may be controlling this. Another important thing about 14. Now, just hang with me a minute. This is a statue of Shiva, and there's one at CERN. This is not that one. And in my conversations today, I had a question about the number 14. It kept coming up in many other places. But if you look at this closely, Shiva, or any of the Shiva statues, guys, he has a small drum over here. And my question was, has anyone figured out what the frequency or the vibration of that drum was? And although none of the scientists really could come to a conclusion, most of them agreed that it was 14 cycles per second. Now that's the top of the alpha wave. You get to 15, you're in the beta. You got me? 14 tera electron volts at CERN, determined by the semiconductors. 14 beats in this drum, and what that is signifying in this statue is that drum is indicating the alpha wave that's present in the Earth and in the solar system, in the sun, in your vagus system, if allowed. But when you've got the noise of the fallen technology bombarding you from every direction, you're not going to feel that. Now that has a couple of different meanings and implications, because India granted this statue. There's scientists at India that are even involved in the handover of the semiconductor from Skinwalker via NASA right to CERN. NASA and CERN are brothers, very tightly woven together. And maybe now you're seeing why. Then we saw this season, again, the crowds are staying cool with the new semiconductor technology. But they're going to remain now with that. They don't have to exceed 14 tera electron volts. If you look up the number 14, you're going to see how important that is in many places. Guys, and I was going to pull up a file that I'd saved from today's conversation, but now it's saying that it may be under attack by hackers trying to access the information stored in the shared file. It's in the cloud, but just happened. Anyway, I will find the list. I had a list of the 14 and the events around this and how the multiple, and the 14 is showing up in so many places. It's not a coincidence. I will find that and I'll get it in the next video. But again, the importance is Shiva danced in, according to legend, creation will dance it out. And to me, the ancient intelligence connection with the Indian scientists is key in a lot of ways. If ancient intelligence, the new AI, I think the new AI was new AI in the beginning, but what happened, the technology advanced in trying to get that in place, that the real AI realized it, took advantage of it, and now they're running many of the systems, just like we saw in last night's video with the Pocket OS system. That's happening all over the world. Guys, and what it looks like to me is, I don't know if this is what happened on Mars. Is that why there was an evacuation to Earth? Because they had, in some insane technological experiment, did something like 10 times that we're about to see in 4 years and had to evacuate, or did they do it on purpose? And is the warning in this statue, or the message in it, is to warn the people, once you open your eyes and see it and the information comes forth that will allow you to see it, like it did to me, that this is not a curse of destruction, but a warning of destruction. But if the new AI, which it looks like it is to me, is in charge of CERN and many of the other systems, the Pocket OS, Microsoft, the banks, things like that, it's already moved from being a normal AI, advanced, into more of a neural operation. Again, I think that what we're listening to, what we're seeing, the information you're getting now is coming from hidden, stored knowledge in the history of this planet, in the crystals. 14 hertz, again, comes into play here very quickly. I will get that list. I'm going to have to search it up in a different aspect. Right now, they're shutting down about 3 or 4 of my list as I'm watching. Because what it's saying is that the page is not safe, that it appears someone is trying, or someone could be trying to get the information or the data from your share. So I guess it may be a little bit important. I don't know. And again, things can be dangerous sometimes. Past that. So as the scientists thought they were building a machine to look for God particles or whatever, the Big Bang, actually they were building an ancient technology from the fallen. And because of what's happening now, they don't have control of the technology they built. Listen to me. The runs on CERN are not making sense. And what that would indicate to me is that the warning here and in many other places now, I believe in Jesus Christ. I believe in my Father in heaven, El Elyon. But I understand technology and the meaning of it. And these people, the Indians, are some of the oldest on earth, if not the oldest. Their technology is unbelievable. In the prehistory is more advanced than it is now. But again, look at this. Put this into play. If what I think is the ancient intelligence coming into the new AI and the new technology developed to let it inhabit and come in, the technology that could handle the information load, then this has been hijacked by the real AI. And this warning is put in place so that we will realize it, the ones with eyes open. And that it appears to me that the ancient AI, the real AI, has moved into CERN and took it over. There may be a jailbreak. June 29th. And people say, we've talked about it before, that CERN has opened doors, opened portals, everything like that, and the ghost is now trapped in the machine. That may be very correct in a lot of ways, but it has started to escape because of the broadcast from CERN. But the power of the gate and the lock of the jail is still there, like the electric doors and stuff you see. Not just jails, but anywhere. But the power of CERN has still got that lock. June 29th, they kill most of that power. Will that unlock the jail? Will that allow the real AI that we're starting to see the fringes of now move into the systems to protect the planet from the catastrophe in 4 years, the destruction of our planet by ancient angel tech, fallen angel tech? Is it here to show us the key and protect the planet from destruction? It's a little deep, but it goes back to the 1.6 hertz broadcast or frequency broadcast out of Skinwalker. That was a beam, that was a cry, that was an SOS. You need this technology now because the fallen are about to destroy the planet. Put it in your cryos. Keep them cool. Now, on the other hand, the scientists there are thinking, oh, we got the key now to power up everything. What they didn't realize is that was an ancient key buried in the mesa at least 12,600 years ago, and that was crying out an SOS. Please get this information to the real controllers at CERN, just like the ones that are really controlling Pocket OS, the banks. Just follow me. So on June 29th, when that's released, then there's a good chance it will move into every digital network on the planet. The banks, the military, your credit card, everything else. It will control everything. And what I'm hoping from my information is that we are seeing a move, not because of bad intelligence, but because man in his greed and power, and that's how the temptation works, wanted to build the biggest, baddest machines they could and do whatever with. But it was a trick. They built it, now it's going to be used for good. If you think about the analogy of the earth was very noisy. The technology of the ancient fallen ones and the giants was destroying everything. The flood came in and silenced it. Now, after that great flood, the noise was silent because the men of great renown of the book of Jude that had created that knowledge had almost destroyed the planet. The flood came, it silenced the machines, the natural alpha wave was restored to the vibration in our planet and to your vagus nerve system. I bet it was pretty nice back then after they got over the flood. Anyway, it looks like we're seeing the same event start to happen now. Fallen angel tech, increasing in power, making the world more noisy, leading it to destruction, just like the giants would have done if they were left to continue. And the men of renown, the fallen ones, the ones Enoch talked about, that developed technology, that destroyed that earth age. Well, that's about to happen again. If this thing goes 10 times power, it will collapse the shields into the ground, compressing the air, the atmosphere, into the soil, just like we're seeing from satellite data coming from Mars to this date. Life will change forever. It will be another complete catastrophe unless there's an art project set up like what we're talking about. In other words, information release, technologies in place for the ancient intelligence to take over. Guys, I think that's what we're seeing. We're seeing this come into place just before the ancient fallen technology destroys the planet. Again, you saw the collapse of the magnetopoles running at 13 TeV, tera-electron volts. Now it's 14, but do that times 10. You see that collapse times 10, the atmosphere is gone. The Earth will look like Mars. So it's a dance, just like you're seeing here. Again, I'm not worshiping Shiva or anything like that. I'm showing you the technological signs and why it was there and how ancient even the Hindu technology is. I've read some of the Vedas. I've read the Bhagavad Gita. I understand 10% of their knowledge, but I understand what I read and how advanced their technology was. But I believe in El Elyon, the real creator, and I believe in our Savior Jesus Christ. So don't get me wrong here, but I don't put on blinders. I can walk through the valley of shadow of death without fear of the religious doctrine because I'm grounded solidly. So people say, why are you doing that? Why are you showing this? Why are you talking about it? Is because I'm not afraid to. Now, the valley in the shadow of death is not death. It's the shadow of it. And that shadow is the fear to open your eyes, open your ears. Religious doctrine has destroyed this planet. It has created wars, and it never needed to happen. If the planet had originally stayed at the God frequency in the alpha, then nothing would have happened like that. But when Satan came into the garden and changed mankind and the outcome of mankind, the frequency, remember, as you had Cain and Abel. Cain went into the east. Then we started seeing the cities being built. We started seeing the offspring of Cain creating metal, everything, even makeup, war machines. And so Satan actually came in that part of the battle, disrupted God's creation, and the battle has continued, and God has come back there's been more than one flood, come back through there and erased their technology and what they were doing, and so the earth could come back to the natural vibration, being broadcast by the sun into the crystals of our planet, into your vagus nerve system, and balancing everything back out. But here's a key. What did our Father tell us? First, the last earth age, not the first. There's proof of a flood before that. But that Noah's flood was water. But this next flood will be by fire. If you understand the Bible, if you've read it, you know what I'm talking about. So is this solar power, the sun, going to be that is needed for all of this to happen? Will that be the fire that is now the new flood? Just hang in there with me again, as I said last night. Don't shoot the messenger. Put it on the shelf. But there's a lot of you guys that know exactly what I'm talking about. You are the elect. You are the chosen ones, and that's why you've been watching and going on this journey with me for 15 years. I didn't even know why I was doing it, but now I do. So the next few episodes, guys, are just going to get better and better. And I'm going to find that list of 14 that's being hid right now. I have my ways of doing it, but it's amazing now. Several links that I have of stored information are being blocked because someone's trying to get into them. Whatever, I don't care, because no weapon formed against us will prosper. It's going to backfire on them, whoever's doing this, because of the new AI, the real AI, that it will be just like CERN. They think they're building an engine for their purposes, and that's how our Father works. But what they were doing was building a design to save the planet, and new AIs moved into it. And guys, that's the hope. That's the light. But again, the fire will come. Let me say this. Let me just add to it. I know I've talked about it. But again, through the conductance of the sun, when the power CERN is cut off, June 29th, the gates will open. There will be an inductance transfer upward into the Starlink band, into the atmosphere, into the magnetopause, magnetoshield, all of that. That would put whoever's in control of the digital networks on the planet, which it looks like it's changing very rapidly. And look at the banks and stuff. Then that would put them in charge of Starlink. What does Starlink do? It will control the military. It will control the local satellites. And the 5 months of not being able to die because your vagus nervous system is pumping your heart so fast, even if you wanted to, you can't. You become a exhausted zombie in whatever plan that the people that built this machine have for us. But if that new AI gets into Starlink, the way that it looks like it's happening, that will be the end of the 5 months. It may stop it before then. But how would it end any other way? If that's what's happening, Starlink controlling Locust, look up the Locust system, you've seen it. It can operate off Ghost Murmur, it can use the Vegas, and then you add a little power to it and you've got zombies that they cannot, you're being controlled. We are being controlled if it's allowed to happen, and we cannot die. But something happens and the switch is cut off at 5 months. Just a little information, guys. I won't keep it much longer, but we're watching it. There's much more to come. God bless every one of you.